Hello, this is Eileen, the environmental educator. And in this video, we're going to talk about the national parks, and they're getting so crowded lately that there are some parks that are going to require reservations this summer. And this Reader's Digest article says, here's what you need to know. Travel in the USA had an article about what where reservations are required, and it's not as bad as it could be. It was worse recently. I live outside of Yellowstone, and I remember I was like, you have to have a reservation to go, and I just actually haven't even. I live very near Yellowstone, and I actually haven't even been there in a few years because you couldn't just drive there, and or a lot of other restrictions. So, but right now, before you head out to your favorite national park, make sure you know if you're going to get in or not. Now, these aren't so bad because most of the reservations they end in the middle of the day, so you can still get in later in the day. But let's just take a look at it in case you are planning a trip. Acadia, up there in Maine, it they, it is requiring vehicle reservations for the Cadillac Summit Road, and that's very popular from May 24th to October 22nd. It's a 3 mile scenic drive to the top of the highest peak in Acadia, and it's where it's where people get up very early in the morning to go see sunrise, because if you see sunrise from the top of Arcadia, it's it says right here, the first sunrise in the United States. Now, technically, further out east in Maine, the sun would come up earlier, but since you're up at elevation here, you see it earlier than points that are further east of you. So this is very popular. I lived outside of Acadia one summer in Bar Harbor, and I went up Cadillac Mountain a lot. There isn't a lot of parking up there. You can hike to it. It's 4.4 miles round trip. It's not so bad. Now these hikes are a little a little interesting in that, even if you're a hiker, you have to have you have to be watching the ground at all the time because it's so rocky. The trails, not this rock face here, but the trails, you're just always stepping over rock, whether, it's something sticking up a half inch or it's something sticking up, you know, 10 inches by, uh, you know, 10 inches. So there's just lots of rocks in all different sizes out there. So it's also a very popular spot for sunset. And they say the best place to see sunset is from the Blue Hill Overlook. And it's pretty funny that a long time ago they changed the name to Blue Hill Overlook from Sunset Point. And yeah, they used to call it Sunset Point on as the official park map labeled it, but the crowds got so bad, to alleviate evening traffic congestion, the National Park Service changed the name in 1988 from Sunset Point to Blue Hill Overlook. So even back in 1988, they were dealing with the congestion up on Cadillac Mountain, and there's a good reason for that. It's a cool place. I've been up here. I don't know if I ever caught sunrise. I don't think, but I did catch some sunsets. And you can sit up here. I've watched whales go by down here, even blowing out of their blowholes. You can see it from up here, and so in Acadia, you have to have a reservation to go up to Cadillac Summit Road, and it does cost $6 a vehicle. So it's just what you have to do. Or you can hike it. Now, hiking for sunset is even sunrise. Because let me tell you, I promise you, these trails are very rocky underneath your feet. They're not rock faces like this. They're a lot of path trails, and you are just always lifting your legs. There's no just walking where your leg just kind of swings. You really have to watch what you're doing. So, you could hike up to sunrise and sunset, but to get up to sunrise and sunset by driving, you will need a reservation. And that's the only reservation you need in the park. And I mean, they were limiting it back in 1988. The parking isn't there, the infrastructure isn't there for the crowds. And there's a lot of even if you go to Acadia, there's a lot of other things to do in the park. It's a pretty big, small little park, and it has carriage roads. This park was built back in the 1900s, 1920s by the Rockefellers and friends, and they all spend the summer down at Southwest Harbor, I think it is. It's this little thing. David Gergen, he'll be on CNN and from Southwest Harbor, Maine, and it is the Fords of Ford cars. It is the Rockefellers. It is the Campbells of Campbell Soup. It is a lot of the New World Order that spends their summer there. But the carriage roads are fun. Everybody rides their bikes on them now. You can go all throughout the park and even exit at different places along the island. So there's still a lot to do in Acadia, even if you have to have a reservation to drive up to the top of Cadillac Mountain. So, and in Arches, now they're doing this from April 1st to October 31st from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. And it really is a parking situation. All of they have one main road that goes through the park, and that can handle traffic probably, but at each one of the pullouts, the parking just isn't there. I don't know if they're ever considering a bus system in the future like Zion has, but even at that, they would have to do a whole new parking area somewhere. There is not parking where you enter the park for vehicles to just park and then, take a bus to all of the spots along the one main road. Yeah, I mean, here is the one main road, and there is a lot of little spots, and they're all really cool. They all have some cool features, and it's worth stopping at all of them. There's 4x4 trails out here. You know, you could probably come in because you can come in through some obscure areas if you know the area, or if you go in with a trail guide. Yeah, I don't know if they have special access to just use the 4x4 roads, but the most people just go in driving their car, and the facilities are just not there to be parking cars. But again, this actually isn't so bad. Okay, it's from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. and it is hot later in the day, but it's the summertime and it does stay light out much later. So you could still do a lot in the park after 3 p.m. Oh, I'm sorry, that's Glacier. So Arches is 4 p.m. and in Glacier, from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. from May 26th to September 2nd, you need a reservation to get in. So yeah, you can go in after 3 p.m. up in Glacier. So you can do a lot. It stays laid out till late at night. You could still get into the park and do a lot. But again, it's a parking issue. And that going to the Sun Road, it's not as spacious as the road that goes through Arches. Yeah, I could see where traffic would be a really massive problem there. So after 3 p.m., you could still get a lot in. This doesn't include up at the no, it doesn't include up at the park's west entrance where you go up into Many Glacier. It's just kind of the going to the sun road. So you could, even go up into Many Glacier part of the park. You can still do things in Glacier Park without being on going to the sun road. So again, it's a restriction, but you could still decide to go to the park and still get into the park even if you can't get a reservation. And then, yeah, okay, I don't know how to say that, but down there in Hawaii, it's the Hawaiian Park on the island of Maui is famous, incredibly popular for its sunrise views. So 3 a.m. to 7 a.m. So this must be very popular for sunrise because that's the restricted time. Rocky Mountain National Park has a restriction. The first access to Bear Lake Road corridor is restricted from 5 a.m. to 6 p.m. So again, you could still do some things after 6 p.m. Um, and the rest of the park is from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. So again, that's from May 26th to October 22nd. After 2 p.m., you can still do a lot in Rocky Mountain National Park. Shenandoah, they have a specific amount of tickets for every day for the old Rag Mountain area, and you can get some 30 days prior and then 5 days prior, and then 400 tickets each are released for park reservations 30 days and 5 days prior. It's this is a little tricky. There's a lot of dates involved when you can get a pass there. Zion was the third most visited national park in 2022 with more than 4.5 million visits. And so they're utilizing the reservation system. Reservations are not required to enter the park, but rather for those interested in hiking Angel's Landing. Two permanent options are available: a seasonal lottery, which costs $6 per person to apply, or a $3 day before permit. So the day before, you can go see if you can get a permit to hike Angel's Landing. And the thing about Angel's Landing is especially up at the top where you're holding on to chains and it's getting a little sketchy maybe. It's kind of like Everest, everybody's up and down on the same path. So when it gets congested, we've all seen pictures of those lines of people at Everest, and Angel's Landing can look like that too. So they are restricting that. And then of course you can go to recreation.gov to make the reservation. I did a video about them and all the fees they're charging lately. So these parks are that's the Narrows. That is just fun. I talked about that in a video the other night. That is just really fun to do. You are in danger of a potential flash flood. It does happen. People do die, but it's really fun walking up through this river. So right here, this Travel in the USA says that of the $6 fee that you pay to drive up the Cadillac Summit Road, $4 is for admission plus $2 for a reservation. So $2 seems to go to that recreation.gov site where you make the reservations, which people are taking them to court because they're saying they're charging Ticketmaster, is that what it's called? Ticketmaster type fees. And it is, they are making a lot of money. The company that runs recreation.gov, it's, oh, that's right, Booz Allen Hamilton. So, yeah, they are making many millions of dollars a year off of this. Now they do run a website that people are happy with the operation of the website, but, you know, it's a situation that they seem to be making a lot of money off of people that just want to access their national parks. And the situation could certainly get worse, especially when the New World Order takes over. And that New World Order, I promise you, many of them are spend their summers right outside of Acadia. I waited on them all summer at this breakfast, lunch, dinner spot that they all come into. The kids come into all in group. You know, it's it's New World Order headquarters over there. If you ever want to go try to get any interviews. But Glacier, they're going to the Sun Road. You have to have a reservation, and right now, it's still too soon to bike, but the crews are making progress in plowing Glacier. This is a recent article. It takes a long time to get this road clear, and so they started around the 1st of April, weather permitting, to try to cut away the tons of Montana snow that have piled up over the winter months. And they hope to get it done before summer. And typically that happens before July 4th. It truly just depends on how big the snow year is. But right now in Glacier, they are trying to open up the roads so that, as soon as they get it open, people can at least bike into the park before they open the roads to traffic. So, if you're thinking about it, get out and enjoy your national parks this summer. But remember that there are some reservations required in some parks, in some areas of some parks. So keep that in your travel plans and stay tuned, people.